Hi third graders, it's Mrs. Burke here with another video math lesson. Last week we took a look at quadrilaterals and we saw how we could give different four-sided shapes, quadrilaterals, different names. And to do that, we looked at their sides and we looked at the types of angles that they had. You can do the same thing for triangles. So triangles can also be named based on the measure of their sides, and that means the length of their sides, so you'll take like a ruler and measure them, or the measure of their angles. So you can name them more than one way, just like quadrilaterals. So you have three different names you could give a triangle based on its sides, one of them being an equilateral triangle. This one is an isosceles triangle. And finally, this is a scalene triangle. We're gonna look at the angles in another video, but today I just wanna focus on the sides of a triangle and those different names we can give them. So let's start with equilateral. An equilateral triangle sounds like the name. In an equilateral triangle, all three sides are the same length. So if you look at my example here, if I measure the bottom of my triangle, it's gonna measure 6 inches. Same with the left side and same with the right side. So since all of my sides are the same measure, I can call this triangle an equilateral triangle. Lateral or lat means sides, so equal-sided triangle, equilateral. Now, some triangles won't have all sides equal. They might just have two sides that are equal. If that's the case, we are going to refer to that as an isosceles triangle. So in an isosceles triangle, two sides are equal length. And if you look at the example, this side has a measure of 20 centimeters and the opposite side has a measure of 20 centimeters as well. However, this bottom side of my triangle only measures 8 centimeters. So since it's not the same as my two others, I can't call this an equilateral triangle, but I give it the name isosceles. And a quick little hint, how I always remember isosceles is two sides. The word isosceles, I think of my two eyes. So isosceles, two sides equal. Isosceles, two sides equal. Now, some triangles you're gonna notice, none of the sides are the same measure. That would be called a scalene triangle, where no sides are equal in measure. So you can see my top here measures 8 centimeters. This side over here is 4, and this side is 6. So not one of my sides has an equal measure anywhere else. So since every single side is different, it's known as scalene. All right, so those are the three different names you can give it just by measuring the sides of the triangle, just the sides. So let's take a look at some of these triangles and see if we can name it based on the measure of their sides. So I have this triangle right here, and I notice that it has a measure of 5 inches here and 5 inches here, okay. But the bottom is 7, so it's not equal to these two. But I do have two sides that are equal. Two must be isosceles. So this would be classified as an isosceles triangle because it has two sides that are equal measure. In my next one, I have a side that is 10 yards, one side that is 12 yards, and one side that is 8 yards. So looking at this triangle, I realize that it has no equal sides. So it can't be equilateral since nothing is equal, and it can't be isosceles since it doesn't have two that are equal. So since it has no equal sides, we can call it scalene. Great. Okay, let's look at the next one. I have a side that is 20 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and 18 millimeters. So thinking about our three choices, equilateral, isosceles, and scalene, what name would you give this? That's right, this is scalene because none of my sides are equal. Awesome. All right, try this one. I have 1 inch on the top, 3 inches and 3 inches on the side. So how would you name this triangle? And hopefully you said 2 are the same. I have 2 eyes, so isosceles. Great. And how about this one? 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 4 centimeters. Since all of my sides are equal, I can call this an equilateral triangle. Now I want to show you one other thing. Sometimes we're going to see triangles that don't tell us the measure. We're not going to have the numbers there. It won't tell us how long they are, but they will give us clues as to if they're equal or not. When I look at this picture, I don't see any measurements, but I do see that I have 2 dashes right here. Those 2 dashes tell me that this side is equal to this side, and since this doesn't have a dash, it's not equal to these 2. So this, even though I don't have the numbers, I would know that this is an isosceles triangle because it has 2 sides that are equal. And if I look at this picture, I notice 3 dashes in the triangle. Those 3 dashes are telling me these have exactly the same measure, even though I don't have the measurements written. Since I have the 3 dashes, this must be an equilateral triangle, okay? So once again, we have equilateral triangles. All sides are the same measure. An isosceles triangle, where 2 of the sides are the same measure, and a scalene triangle, which has no sides that are equal, okay? And that's how you can name a triangle based on the measure of its sides. Our next video will explore the angle names, okay? Have a great day, 3rd graders.